evening, everybody. This is Last Minute Movies, and tonight we're talking about Hot Fuzz, one of the coolest Edgar Wright movies by a margin. Right, Ali? What do you think?
Yeah.
Is it one of his best movies?
Yeah, I'd say so. Of the Edgar Wright, I haven't seen like every single Edgar Wright film, but of the Edgar Wright films that I have seen, it's probably like my second favorite one. My first favorite still being Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Well, yeah. No, those are the two main contenders, honestly. I do have to say, I think it's way better than Baby
Shaun
Driver.
of the Dead.
I think that this is better than Shaun of the Dead, and I think it's hella better than Baby Driver.
Yeah, I mean, any of them is better than Baby Driver. But we're not here to shit on Edgar Wright today. We're here to actually compliment him because he made a very well made comedy. This is definitely one of the funniest comedies I've ever seen.
It's good.
Okay, so when talking about this film, like, I kind of don't really know where to start. There's so many things that we can talk about.
I know where to start.
What?
The editing makes me fucking wet. Like, I love editing. Editing is one of my favorite aspects of filmmaking because that's where the actual movie as we know it is being made. And that movie is just an editing fucking masterpiece.
It is. Did it ever win any kind of like big awards or anything like that for editing?
We gotta look that shit up. But on this note, let's roll the intro.
Okay, so when it comes to editing, this film was edited by Chris Dickens. And Chris Dickens actually has won many awards for his editing. He edited Slumdog Millionaire. He won an Oscar. It might have been the Academy Award for that film, where he won Best Editor. He's won the American Cinema Editors Award, the BAFTA Award for Best Editing. A lot of awards he's won for Best Editing, and it's true because, something I like to talk about, something that I notice in a lot of Edgar Wright films is the timing and the beats. And I really actually enjoy that because a lot of comedic films are just so trashy because they just think like fart jokes or something inappropriate is gonna get the audience laughing, and that will. But I actually think that the comedic timing of his jokes, in threes, the beats and all that kind of stuff is actually what makes something really funny when it comes to filmmaking, even like with stand-up or something like that. And that's why I feel that Edgar Wright works so well as a comedic film director.
Facts.
Is because the fact that he understands the craft of comedy. It's not just throwing shit up there, it's seeing what works. Now that can work, like with Family Guy.
I am so clever. That's why they picked me to convince Congress to go to war.
There is no just cause for an invasion of Iraq.
Well, that may be. But what we're all forgetting is anyone who doesn't want to go to war is gay.
I want to go to war.
Oh, yes, we should definitely go.
We should totally go.
I was the first one who wanted to go to war.
And Family Guy is one of the first 5 seasons, it was my favorite animated TV show comedy-wise. Because it was just so funny because it was so ridiculous.
It's far from bad. It's decent, I gotta say.
Yeah, but eventually that shit kind of starts to get old, and you actually need to have true craftsmanship, like Dave Chappelle kind of stuff in your comedy. You have to have a good understanding, and it seems to me that Edgar Wright has a really good understanding. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually took some theater classes, because there's a lot of that comedic theater timing that's in plays that you may see. It's in this film as well, and this film just fucking nails it, man. There's so many funny parts where it's just hilarious, just characters saying random stuff, or that one part where it's like the old man who had all the guns in the warehouse.
Yep,
you couldn't understand what he was saying, and then someone else had to translate for
That
him,
entire-
and they didn't understand.
Yes.
Right. What did he say?
Said how's his head, He only chopped him down because he couldn't see the view no more. What's he moaning about?
What did he say?
That was one of my favorite scenes in the movie, actually. And I even have, while I was watching the film yesterday, I put together, a list of iconic montages that this film contained. And I ended up having, 12 of them.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so awesome how it skims through those beats so quickly. And I think that what's so beautiful about this film and really puts it in a different league compared to all the other comedies is that editing comes together with the cinematography, with the storytelling, and all of those beats come together in such a fast, kind of dense pacing, which comes down to the same thing that I keep talking about this podcast, like on this podcast over and over again, is the fucking release of information, right? Every moment of the film, there is a character that will have, like, that we will see at some point again in the story. Every point in the film, we see a place or an object that will be used again. And not a single frame of that is wasted. It's either being used for the context of the plot in the immediate moment, like, wine pouring and beer drinking, or it's being used to then, like, set for the plot later in the game when, Nicholas Angel is, like, running through the town and meets all of these people that were, that he will be fighting by the end of the movie. And
it's like nothing's wasted. Nothing's wasted.
Yeah, and I think, like, also the genre helps a lot because it's a detective story in addition to it being, like, it's technically a murder mystery in addition to being a comedy, and it's also a satire, so all of these elements come together to make it extra dense and extra
it's
thick.
the satire of that action, like, buddy cop genre, a mystery, and, like, a comedy. It's a lot of things at the same time. And I actually think, like, in order for a film like this to be made, you have to have a true understanding of the action genre and, the buddy cop kind of genre. And all those films that, were referenced in this movie, like Bad Boys 2 and all that kind of shit, Edgar Wright must have watched those films, like, religiously in order to really, like, have an understanding of what he was doing.
So, Ali, do I recap? Is this what I do?
It's your time again. You don't have John here to save you.
It's my time. Well, I prepared. So, let me just, I think the reason why I'm terrified of this is because it reminds me of elevator pitching, just, like, condense the fucking story. Alright, so Nicholas Angel, played by Simon Pegg, is a really awesome cop in the London police force. And
Name Angel.
Yeah, his last name is Angel. His first name is Nicholas.
His last name is Angel.
Yeah,
Nicholas.
but I kind of want to call him Angel just because that's what everyone's calling him. So he's
or Angle
or Angle, but that happens later in the story. Don't spoil it. So Angel is too good of a cop in London. His arrest rates are like 400%, and it's really good. He's making the rest of his team look bad. So he gets sent by, like, the upper administration. They send him to this
John Watson
town.
tells him that he needs to go to a small town.
Yes. They all send him to a cottage in a small town to basically be a police officer there, and it's like a village, and nothing's happening there, and it's your seemingly perfect village. And he hates it. He hates it so much there is a whole montage of moving to the countryside that is just gold of cinematography, where not a single word is said, but it is felt so much, and all of these cuts create texture, and holy shit, I'm gonna leave all of that out of the plot recap because it has barely anything to do with the plot, and everything to do with just the textures of the film, but that's...
We'll get to that soon.
Exactly. So, he gets introduced to his new colleagues there, gets introduced to the guy who's running the police force, gets introduced to this other main character, Danny, played by Nick Frost, who is like the main police officer's son. I think he's a deputy, right? I don't fucking know. It's whatever.
Yeah, he's the inspector's son or something.
There you go. So
or whoever is the hierarchy for the police in England or whatever the fuck that's called.
Can't remember. Doesn't matter.
It's lieutenant here or something like that.
So Danny is like unlike Angel, Danny just like doesn't know what's happening. He is really inexperienced because he lived in that small town his entire life, and he just really wants to see action. And Angel has seen some shit, and he's been traumatized by guns. He was stabbed before, and he like doesn't want to deal with it.
He's having like Vietnam flashbacks. Yeah.
Yes, really nice contrast. And like also Angel, I just really resonate with his character because he's completely obsessed with his work, and that entire element is just so awesome. He's a really good cop, and he's like
that's you and me right there. Fucking workaholic, slap it.
Yeah, I resonate with that so much, and that motherfucker.
Wait, slap the screen.
I don't know which way to slap. Oh wait. We should do it like this so that it's like screen right for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, ready?
There you go.
1,
right.
2, 3.
2, 3. Hey,
All right.
workaholics.
So the motherfucker's a workaholic, and he's ruining his relationships over it. His girlfriend leaves him shortly before he leaves London, but that's besides the point. So now he's in Stanford, and the main things he has to deal with, according to the local law enforcement, is like the living statue that's been invading their town, and the hoodie infestation of just like kids wearing hoodies, leaving graffiti once in a while, and it's like really, the problems he has to deal with, other than people dealing drugs and shooting at each other and whatever. So
yeah, it's just small town bullshit, and he's
Exactly.
just like, what is this? Like, yeah.
Exactly. So at some point, a murder occurs in the town. This guy sets up a Shakespeare play. I think his last name is Blower, and him and his girlfriend both get decapitated as they drive their cars by what is revealed to be like a murderer in a cloak with an axe. And everyone keeps saying that it's an accident, but Angel is convinced that this cannot be an accident because of a whole variety of clues that he finds out. And
then a bunch of other murders like that happen as well.
Yes. So and then the murders just keep happening in the town one after another, and Angel keeps trying to prove everyone that this is in fact, there's a link in between, this is fucked up, and they're all telling him that no, you're just from London, you're used to this shit, these are all accidents, nothing is linking them, there's no evil, this town is perfect, didn't it win like the best town competition so many times in a row? And people get killed in like a progressively more brutal ways. Like, the first the decapitation in the car, then a guy gets
someone gets blown up and shit.
Yeah, a guy
gets crushed by like a pillar.
No, like a piece of a church roof just fucking smashes these dudes into gem. It's amazing. And
it's pretty fucking gory.
Yeah, and like all of these shots are just combined with a day-to-day kind of almost a routine existence of these two buddies and their evolving relationships, the two cops. And it's just really nice, and you don't expect the gore when it hits you, and it hits you so nicely, not like in a scary way, but more in a really satirical, somewhat funny
because of the editing.
Because of the editing and because of writing, but we'll get to that in a second. So as the murders continue on, Angel kind of figures out that the man who is kind of behind all of that is the guy last name Skinner, who runs the local store, that just like convenience store that sells produce and whatever. And he like comes to basically brings the entire police force with him and goes like, we're gonna get Skinner, we're gonna arrest him, he is the one in charge of all the murders. In the end, he cannot make the final connection because he was expecting to find a scar in his leg, which he didn't have, because he literally chased one of the murderers after this lady got stabbed in the fucking neck with her own like flower trimmers, which is fucking just crazy.
That was fucking brutal.
And it happened literally in front of Angel. A cloaked person did it in front of him. So like, he knows it's connected, and everyone keeps telling him like, yeah, no, these are just fucking accidents. And
also that guy in the store is really ominous, just giving all kinds of clues that he's the murderer.
Absolutely. So yeah, and Skinner basically gets dry out of water and he's fine. After which point Angel is kind of feeling completely defeated. And there's even like this really awesome sequence of him going like, yeah, I failed. These are might be just accidents. But his desire to protect and serve that goes so much outside of what, the common definition of police officer is. He just doesn't want to let it go. So he keeps going, and then he gets an idea that there might be more than one killer. So the moment he figures that out, he gets attacked. And he gets attacked by one of the townspeople that are just like this really big guy that goes, yarp.
That's dressed in the cloak, yeah.
Yep.
Yarp.
Yarp. So they yarp it out, and he fights him, and he ends up, yeah, I know. At which point, Angel ends up exposing that pretty much half of a town's population is, gathering in this... it's basically neighborhood watch of the town that is majority of town's population seemingly that gathers in these circles to basically do a satanic worship cult type shit, where their main goal is to preserve the town as it is. And all the people that get in the way, people that build a house that doesn't match the rustic aesthetic.
God, I just realized something.
What?
This film is The Village, but it's funny.
You are so fucking right.
Right? It's literally The Village.
Wow. Cool. Damn. Okay, but yeah, so they're just all trying to preserve their little heaven, and they're willing to kill people over how their houses look wrong and how they're bad actors and shit. And like, yeah, I totally want to kill some bad actors too, but not like that.
Yeah, I would murder that. I would murder him as well.
Yeah, he
butchered Romeo and Juliet.
He butchered Romeo and Juliet, but he's also just like a really creepy person in general, and it like was reading it so well, which means that the actor was actually good, but it was written as a terrible actor. Anyways. Yeah, so he now Angel also realizes that the person who's kind of running that whole shit show is actually the main police inspector, the father of Danny, his friend. And at that tense moment, Danny turns out to be one of them, and they're like, "Danny, take care of him." And Danny's just like, "Sorry, bro," and he's just like, "Danny, why? You too?" And it's just it's such a wacky fucking moment, and it really hits you.
Yeah,
too.
I did not expect that at
Yeah.
all. I thought he was just gonna be like, "What's going on here?" I did not expect for him to be in on it.
Yeah. So, and then Angel tries to run away from them because they're all chasing him with pitchforks and knives and shit, and he ends
finds
up almost
all these bodies.
Yes, he finds a whole bunch of bodies in these catacombs underneath the church that is there, and manages to make an escape. And just as he goes, like, I'm gonna, Danny kind of helps him to miraculously escape, but then just as his way to London, he's like, I'm gonna go back to my life, I'm gonna just do the thing, at which point he turns around. And honestly, that turnaround sequence alone is just so amazing because it doesn't have anyone saying anything. It just implies all of that tension through a bunch of shots of money being passed around. I'm actually gonna play it right now. Yeah, so just like that sequence, right? Out of context, it doesn't tell you much at all. But if you're watching the movie and you're watching this, you're just so fucking in it. But yeah, so Angel goes back. He arms the fuck up and with a bunch of confiscated guns, and just decides to shoot up the entire town and kill everyone who's trying to kill him. Eventually, he convinces the police to get back in, to like get on his side and just actually serve justice.
And Danny
because
helps
his town
him
is
out.
fucked up. Danny helps him out. He is the first one to switch sides, which is just beautiful.
Yeah.
The way in which the two of them would just slaughter the half of the town is great. And I gotta say,
hilarious.
yeah.
It felt like Call of Duty or like Black Ops or
no,
something like that.
facts.
Yeah.
But the funny thing for me, and it's not funny, it's like actually really nice, and it definitely added a lot of juice to it. A lot of one-liners that other townsfolk exchange with each other. It hints at these like facts that they grew up together, they went to the same school together, all of these people are from a small town and they're now killing each other, and it's like it's not nothing when you grew up with that person and now you have opposing views like that to a point.
And he
where you
also
feel like
kicks
it really
an old
creates that tension really nicely.
And he also drop kicks an old woman in the face.
Yep, yeah, that happens too. He also, like, a fucking guy gets his head almost chopped off with a fucking bear trap that falls on him from the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. A lot of gory things happen in the movie, but they're all so fucking satisfying. And, yeah, so in the end of the day, they trash the store. Skinner manages to escape just, as they kind of get rid of the employees of the store. And then the chase continues, and the town is basically overrun. It's pretty much now it's down to the final boss fight between Danny and Angel chasing after Skinner, and apparently Danny's father is there somewhere, but we're gonna get to him in a second. They get to this miniature setting of their own town with a tiny church, and in the end of the fight, that is basically Godzilla vs. Kong type clash in the middle of that small town. Skinner gets his like jaw impaled by one of the spears of the church, and it's just yeah,
and then Danny's father like gets in a car to try to get away.
Yeah,
and
Danny's
then a swan
father,
attacks him.
A fucking swan, man. like just to show you how good this movie is, here's the sequence at the beginning of the film where the swan is first introduced.
Yes, Mr. Staker. We'll do everything we can. Can you describe it to me?
It's about 2 foot tall, long, slender neck.
Yeah.
Kind of orange and black bill.
Anything else?
Well, it's a swan.
And here is the sequence where the swan pays back in the end, where he basically stops the main villain from escaping. It's so beautiful, and it's so elegant. It's so nicely crafted in the writing, and then perfectly maintained in the editing. Oh my god, I love this movie.
So any good filmmaker knows what the fuck that montage is. It's like a film editing technique where like a series of short shots are like condensed into a sequence. And it doesn't have to be in the same area. It could be a completely different area, but it can also be the same area. So this idea of montage, people use it. They'll do like Call of Duty sniping montage and blah, 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 blah. But when it comes to filmmaker, it's used in order to enhance storytelling. And I feel like a lot of films, sometimes it's kind of wasted. But what I like so well about this film is that it uses, not only is the montage is fucking hilarious, but it's used to like establish the tone of the movie, the tone of the town, like the culture of the people, and all that kind of stuff. It does so many different things. So like you'll have you'll think like, oh, most montages you're gearing up, getting your guns together, blah blah blah. But the montages in the beginning half of this movie, that it has that in the very, very end where finally it gives you that. But most of the montages that happen in the beginning are like filling out paperwork and shit.
Yo, that fucking paperwork montage is so good. I like it better than the arming up montage as much
They're
as...
so good. Because you get so hyped, you're like, yeah. But then you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make fucking sense. But it's hilarious because it's going to show that this it's genius because it shows that this town is so fucking boring that the most exciting thing that can happen is filling out paperwork after somebody got arrested for like public intoxication or something like that.
Really?
You know?
To me, that was actually a whole other part to it. The montage about filling out paperwork just demonstrates how committed Angel is to his work. Paperwork to him is fucking exciting because that's what gets shit done and like serves justice in a way that is meant to be served.
I think it
So
shows both of those things. I think it just goes to show that it does so many different things. So for me, I got it from more of like an aspect of tone. Like it's showing you through visualization the tone of this town and how it works, that the most exciting thing that can happen is the paperwork. Because usually in London, he would have to do all this action and then he fills out the paperwork. But in this town, the most exciting part is the paperwork. You got it from the fact that it was a character thing for Angel, where he really finds it an exciting thing. So it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter. I might have a different view of it. You might have a different view of it. I actually agree with your view of it. I think it's that as well. It does so many different things, and and that's why it works so well. You know? Yeah.
No, it's like, I think it's just the ways to resonate with it, right? Like there's so many ways to resonate with a point that is high energy, that is relevant and relatable, and the movie just puts it in a context that works in so many ways, and it's up to you how you're reading those things, especially with a montage. Actually, I kind of want to add to that in a context. The whole kind of craftsmanship of montage actually originated in Soviet Union, in the early Soviet Union when
it did.
Like Battleship Potemkin
Soviet
times.
montage.
Yep. And the part of the reason...
I take my general film studies class.
Part of the reason why that was created, and that's actually how Kuleshov effect was discovered, which we can talk about later, but Soviet montage became a thing primarily because there was a lot of used film that, you know, recorded whatever events of like horses running down and like meat getting chopped. And somebody thought that, hey, I don't have to film these things because there's no money for clean film, so they can just take the footage that they have of the films that, you know, were shot before, whatever footage it was, slice it together and make it have a meaning. And that's just the definition of Soviet montage for you, and that's how it became a phenomenon of filmmaking altogether. Not that it didn't exist before, it's just the definitions of it were worked out back then. And that's how Kuleshov effect was created, when you have like person's face, something the person's looking at, and a person's face again. If it's like a piece of food, it's gonna it's gonna imply hunger. If it's a dead child, it's gonna imply grief, etc. And I'm saying the dead child because the example literally uses a dead baby. Russians don't fuck around like that. Anyways,
y'all don't fuck around like that. But I would actually say that when it comes to montage, I think Edgar Wright is the best at it that I've ever seen when it comes to filmmaking. Because most times for films, it's like, okay, we're just going to show you something cool and all of that. But the way he utilizes it in all the ways that we described, I actually think that it's the most effective way of montage that we've ever seen before. Because it tells us all these different things, where for most films, it's like, oh, something cool's about to happen. But with that, we understand character motivations, characters themselves, tones of the setting, all that kind of shit. I think it delivers the most.
And
context.
I think
Yeah, his
textures too, like
montages.
textures and details are really cool too, because they make things more
Exactly.
atmospheric and immersive. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of like a modern day person who would be really good at it, because I'm thinking of the montages of the past, like.
I'll
like,
kill you if you say Michael Bay. No,
Oh no, fuck that guy. Not even. No. You see, if I'm thinking of like it's montage versus cutting, and I'm thinking of Mad Max, but that's
that is pretty good.
but that's there's a whole other approach there, because they are trying to pack as much information as possible into the the sequences that are really rapidly paced. In this case, it's done for a completely different reason, of reveal of information and like texturing and things of that nature. So I don't know if it's the same thing. I don't even know. It's the difference between montage and editing.
It's
but that's
similar. It's similar, but it's different, because I feel like because of how fast paced Mad Max Fury Road was, I feel like the montage was more so used as a way to explain, because they had a limited amount of time and there's so much going on in that film. Montage was used in order to deliver a plot, whereas montage and Hot Fuzz was more so used to deliver context and tone.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And character motivations instead of the plot itself.
You're right. And we have to say, I mean, I gotta admit, you're right. Edgar Wright is definitely really high up there among the modern day montage cutters.
And we fucking love. This isn't shitting on Mad Max Fury Road. It's just used for a different thing. We fucking love Mad Max. We're gonna talk about it one day.
That Mad Max is way overdue on this channel.
Oh, for sure. 100%. That's like one of the best films ever made.
Fuck yeah.
Anyways, I guess okay. So we've pretty much covered editing. Let's talk ensemble. So you talked about how like the people in the town all knew each other, and their one-liners were so funny because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But and while that is a great thing because of the writing, which we're gonna get to with Edgar Wright in a second, the actors, they just did such an amazing job with what they were given. Their performances are so good. Like, I love it when, as an actor myself, I love it when you can just have fun with the role. Like don't get me wrong, you got to do the serious work, you got to do the connect to your emotions, the Meisner techniques, all that kind of stuff, the whole Christian Bale, I'm gonna lose all these pounds for the role, or Heath Ledger, I'm gonna lock myself in a motel and go and pretend I'm the Joker and go crazy, blah 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 blah. Like, I understand all of that, and I actually love all of that stuff. I love getting into your character like that. I love the seriousness, the technique of it, the psychological intrigue of how acting works. But honestly, it's just so fun to just have fun sometimes. Just not even worry about any of that. Just sometimes there are plays that I do where the kind of play, it's just fun, and you're just having a good time with the people that you're working with, and you're just doing what you love. And in that way, you can actually produce really good acting that way, because of the fact that you enjoy what you're doing so much. You're having so much fun playing off of each other. These actors, they must have had so much fun on set together and shit like that. Like, it must have been such an amazing experience to have. Like, you can tell in their performances that they love what they're doing right there.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're enjoying it. They're playing. Literally playing.
Exactly. And even if a specific character isn't given screen time, they're as much screen time as, say, the main characters or the core cast. Like, there's so much personality that they have because of the writing that was done for them, that you almost feel like they are a part of the core cast and that they are important. It's almost like the town is its own character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're right.
Like, and that's how well done it is.
The small town dynamic gives you room to contextualize as an actor and like have those relationships with people, and it's just it's beautiful. And I also got to add to that I think a lot of it comes from them being British, and I mean it in the best sense of the word. Like, there's a really
classically trained Shakespeare actors. I'm gonna just whip it out and say it. Stage actors are the best actors. Okay, sorry, it's true.
I will withhold my comments on this, just because I have to
the
work
Virgin TV CW actor versus the Chad theater thespian.
God damn it, man. I was just gonna say that, like, the British sense of humor shows in every frame of this movie, and the way in which it is handled too. Its subtlety, and it's like, the little bit of things not quite adding up in a really beautiful way. And it really works, and I think there are some movies that have that British sense of humor that don't really translate worldwide, just because, you know, it can get really high up there sometimes. But that movie is so adaptable, it's so fluid with it, and it's so natural, and it just flows with the way in which the jokes are delivered and the ways in which it's holding itself like any audience, be it British, American, European, South African. Like, it's going to be funny regardless.
Yeah, you know what this film almost kind of reminded me of? It almost reminded me of Grand Budapest in a way.
I gotta say, it had that elegance to it. Like,
yeah,
the
it had that kind
had
of
the
elegance.
gravitas. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that elegance and that character work and that ensemble, like, kind of like everyone has such a distinct personality. Like, I really got that with this film.
You know, I'm thinking about it now. When we think about it, I think it's just the idea that all of these characters bring the pieces of the world they live in, they bring it together, and that makes a more, like, it paints a picture for you. And, like, Budapest does it through every character they have, through their outfits. And this movie has it through the character relations and things that the characters are committed to doing, in a sense, to each other and not. I guess.
All right. So let's talk about the big dog, Simon Pegg. I fucking love Simon Pegg. He's amazing in anything I've seen him in. Even in the rebooted Star Trek movies, he's fucking hilarious in those. He's not given as much to do in The Boys and all of that kind of stuff, because he's more so of a serious, as serious as you can get in The Boys. But I just love the fact that, like, I love that he was in this, because it's so not your typical, and they're poking fun at the action trope, right? Like, usually with these action movies, like, you see, whether it be, you know, Bad Boys, or whether it be, you know, what was the one with Mel Gibson and...
Oh, yeah, the pretty much all the basic cop movies they were referencing.
Yeah. Lethal Weapon and, you know, Die Hard,
shit.
all those kind of big action films. Like, usually the main character is, like, this big, maybe not huge, but he's, like, this muscular, really good-looking, really, you know, like,
The Rock?
superstar Hollywood kind of guy, right? Like, with the Fast and Furious kind of shit. But here in this film, you have some guy who's probably, like, I don't know, 5'9" or something like that. He doesn't even really look that muscular or anything. And he's kind of a dick as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a little bit of a douchebag in the beginning.
Well, he's a douchebag to his girlfriend, but I think even then we kind of resonate with the idea that he is really committed to his job and he doesn't know how else to perceive himself.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying.
I am a workaholic too.
I'm saying I am too. So I'm saying douchebag in, like, the best possible kind of way.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's just so different than these typical, like, action heroes that you see.
Yeah. Fact.
He's almost bitter in a bit a way, because his character's interesting, because, you know, it's like he's so committed to what he does, but at the same time he kind of hates it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's and that's almost like how it is sometimes in the real world. Like,
Facts.
Even with what I was doing with acting and all of that, it's like you love it so much and you work so hard for it, but a part of you has this resentment towards it because of that. Like, when you love something, you know, it's interesting. So I went to this theater program in the summer in 2018. It was at Rutgers, and my acting teacher was talking about emotions, of course, because acting. And he was saying something like, he said something to me that's always kind of stuck with me and always made me think, like, oh, wow, that's how powerful the emotion of love is. Is that he said, I love my wife so much. I love her more than anything in the world. But if anything were to happen, like, where you know, something happened between me and her, I would hate her the most in the world. You know what I'm saying? Because the emotions are so strong.
Oh, yeah.
And if that were to ever turn into something bad, you would have massive amounts of hate for it. You know what I'm saying?
And
I'm like, wow. Yeah, and I'm like, wow, that's how powerful emotions are. You could go from loving something so much, and if something bad happens, you could switch and you just resent it more than anything on earth. It's like a bad breakup in a lot of ways. And that's kind of how this character, Angel, is with his job. It's like he loves it, but at the same time, it's almost like rotting away at his soul. And he carries this bitterness to it. I mean, he literally drinks cranberry juice. Like, the script is telling you how he feels internally, because that's the most bitter thing you can ever drink. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's amazing.
Like,
I know. I mean, it's good with vodka, but like, but like, and that's another good sign of a filmmaking. Like, it's showing you through like behavior of what he's drinking, how he feels internally bitter. Like, that's just another really good thing. I didn't even think about it until now.
Yep.
But I just think I think Angel's character is such a masterfully crafted character, because like, he's the straight man, and usually the straight man isn't the main character.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, in a comedy, the straight man, the main character is more so the goofy guy, right?
Yeah.
But the main character in this film is the straight man. And I actually think it works better, because a lot of critiques that comedies have is that, well, it's just jokes, but there's no plot. And that's because of how absurd everything is. But I actually feel like if your main character is like the straight man, that allows the plot to happen, as well as all the other funny shit happening as well. Especially in this case, if the main character, as the story's going on, is loosening up and becoming funnier as well.
Yeah.
I think it works so well. Like, it's such a fucking beautiful, like, Edgar Wright is so fucking good at comedies. Like, I don't even know if there's anyone better. Like, he's so good.
I think him loosening.
He's just so good.
Yeah, you're right. But I think what him loosening up in the end also contributed to the final sense of satisfaction we're getting, like all the action and the shooting that they brought us. Also, him loosening up gave it the ending that we wanted. I think also his character contributes to the plot in general, makes it, again, more of a satire, more of like an observational film almost. Angel, in his sense of isolation and withdrawn from the society because of his work, kind of makes him almost antisocial. And there's a lot of kind of moments in the story where everyone's eating cake and he doesn't want any, where everyone's drinking beer and he doesn't want any, where everyone's telling him that this is all just a coincidence and it's just a bunch of accidents, and he doesn't believe them, right? Like, he just always goes against the current, and him being antisocial, him being like not having to engage unless he absolutely has to. That allows us to look at his character through his eyes and then just see all this other stuff that the movie has to offer, because it's about how they annoy him ultimately in that sense. And I think that really allows us to pay more attention to other things around him, because he's kind of a null object in that sense. He doesn't manifest himself that much in any other way other than being a professional fucking cop.
But the film is about him maintaining this maintaining the balance and duality of working hard, but also being able to lay back at the same time. So I guess
not being able to? He was not chill at all. Not at any point in the movie does he actually go like, you know what, you're right, I need to withdraw. I don't think he ever did, even in the end.
I actually disagree with that. Really? I disagree with that. Yeah, I think that in the later part of it, as because what happens is towards like the later parts of the film, especially like that last action set piece that was happening, he started to like quit more often. He started to laugh a little bit more, all that kind of stuff. And I actually would disagree with you, because I think Danny choosing to help him out goes to show, like, because Danny is this character, like, he's a funny guy, you know, he's very laid back and all that kind of stuff. And I think that Angel's character becoming more relaxed is what strengthened the bond, so that towards the last half of the film, where Danny decides to help him, it actually makes more sense. So I actually think that him starting to loosen up was in it in a very subtle way, but I'm confident that him loosening up allowed Danny to be like, you know what, I'm gonna help you because we have this bond now, since he was loosening up, which led to him helping out and, you know, saving the town. That's how I viewed the movie.
To me, that change does happen, and it's a really big character moment too. It was at the point where he wins the monkey, and like then the murder happens. The guy gets his head gemmed, and the two of them are standing in the rain, and they follow the protocol, and Danny hates it. And then like they yell at each other, and Danny goes like, "You can't stop." I think, like, I don't remember what he says exactly, but you know, like Danny basically says, "You can't slow down." That's the part I remember you saying, and that's what makes Angel regret it, and that's like the part where he starts to shift in that direction. I just feel like the reason why the movie doesn't necessarily do that for me, I don't see Angel being withdrawn completely, is just because his work duties and his commitment to the work duty is kind of what allows him to, you know, destroy all the villains in the end. it's his superpower, even though it's a burden, even though it makes him antisocial sometimes. It's still a superpower he cannot abandon because it's there for the greater good. That, you know, the actual greater good, not the one that the neighborhood watch is talking about.
Well, that's why I'm saying is that it's about him maintaining that balance of working hard and also being laid back, because you also have to remember, where did he get the idea that there were multiple killers?
Yeah.
He got it in that shop where he got the ice cream.
Yeah.
But he never would have gotten the ice cream had he not relaxed more and decided to take a break while he was working.
Fair,
you know
fair,
what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
these
you're
things.
Right. I think that's just irony, though. I think that's just irony. That's not like him having a change of mind in that regard. I think that's just irony that the moment he relaxes for one moment in the movie, that's when he finds the answer. I don't see it as like him changing the heart. Like maybe in the end.
I don't think it's him changing heart. I think it's just him gradually changing, which leads to him being able to actually crack this case more. I actually think him leaning back in some ways, because it's like work, right? Igor. We're writing a script. You and I have both written scripts.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes if you're nonstop writing the script, you get burned out. You get this thing called burnout. We've all had it. And you get really irritable. I feel attacked, and Igor feels attacked. You know? But and you're writing the script nonstop, and you're getting tired of it. You're getting sick of it. You hate it. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And what you got to do is you got to just step back for a little bit. And once you step back and you come back to it, then you get fresher ideas because you've had time away from it. And that's kind of what I feel like what was happening for Angel, in my opinion. That's how I saw it.
You're right. Angel needed to chill the fuck out for a second to see the bigger picture. And you're
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because there's even a point in the movie where he tries to convince the entire Stanford Police Department, going like, you know, these are not accidents, and they're like, yes, they are. And there's like a point where he goes, am I going completely mad? Like, I think that's the bad part of it. That's like, you know, the part where I don't want to like call it burnout, because the movie obviously doesn't position it directly that way, but I think that is what you're describing. It's like you're grinding so hard and you cannot step away to see the bigger picture. And I think that's where you're right with it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're once again at the topic of duality, as if we didn't talk about that enough last podcast.
Or any other one for that matter.
Or any other one for that matter, yeah. It's a common theme in filmmaking. Okay, so did you know that Angel's ex was Cate Blanchett?
No, she was wearing a mask the whole time. It was like COVID.
But it was Cate Blanchett.
Damn.
That was her. That was her, dude. Lady Galadriel was in this movie.
I mean, honestly, that entire exchange she's having with her is just so beautiful, and you know, like, I gotta say that this movie, right? The pacing of the quick paced montages is absolutely brilliant, but the way they cut dialogue, just like a regular exchange between two people, is just also so fucking magnificent. And this is why
it has comedic beats in it as well.
Yeah, and like, I honestly think that for those scenes specifically, for any scene with dialogue, half of it is not even coming from the editing decision. It's just all written in there. Just like, you know, when she talks about who her new boyfriend is, and it's like the two other guys in masks, and they're like, hey,
yeah.
It's also just such a beautiful moment too. I don't see a lot of that in other movies. And if you can think of other movies that have equally elegant like scenes in it, that are self-contained, please write them in the comments. They're just beautiful. There's a lot to learn from them. But yeah,
and you know what else I like about this movie?
What?
If this was an American-made film, he would have gone to that other town. He would have worked with that police cop buddy. The entire police... what is it? Danny? Yeah, Danny's entire character would have been the fact that he was fat and he runs into things and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Although they did have a joke about that once. And then, you know what they would have done? They would have paired him up with some lame love interest, and then he would have found love there, and blah blah blah.
And then Danny would have tried to find love, but failed because he's
fat.
Yep.
Exactly. But you know what? That film, or you know, a chick would have been like, I don't care that you're fat. But you know what? This film doesn't do that. You know why? Because it's awesome.
Yep.
And it just sticks with what it does best. It doesn't try to add a bunch of filler or nonsense or anything like that. Or it's a comedy. It knows it's a comedy, and it's just delivering it to you as a comedy. It's just this film is very clear cut in what it is. It knows there's so many films, there's so many comedies and you watch them, especially American-made comedies, where you're like, what the fuck is this shit? And actually, and for a while there, comedies were my least favorite film genre. But it's films like this that I watch, or I rewatch Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, that makes me like, okay, no, comedies aren't that bad. They're actually really funny, especially old school ones like with Jim Carrey or
fucking Bruce Almighty. I still love it.
Yeah, Bruce Almighty.
Even though it's overplayed, I still love it.
What was that one with Ben Stiller again?
Which one?
There's Something About Mary. I fucking love that film.
Oh.
You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
All right, we'll watch it. We'll watch it.
should.
It's fucking hilarious. But these films know what they are. You know what I'm saying? It's not some cash grab. It's a film first and foremost.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that, like, it's just all about being able to be yourself when it comes to comedy. Exactly. Don't try you can follow rules and patterns that work, but comedy, I think, in many regards, a good comedy has to do with just personality. And I think that this film actually, and we talked about just Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and the way they work together, and just the ways in which actors contribute to this film. I think that, Hot Fuzz is a highly stylistic film, and a way, it's really evident that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost worked with Edgar Wright on his previous pieces a lot before. They know each other, they know how they work, and they know how to communicate well, which allows them to, reach that level of nuance that can only be read in the edit afterwards in post.
Oh, for sure.
But is never fully discovered on set. And this is always a problem with directors, right? One of the biggest challenges a director has is how to communicate to the actor the things the actor needs to know to deliver exactly what the director needs.
So just use the same actors.
Exactly. And, just use if you have actors in your life, as a director, if you have actors in your life that you know how to communicate with, you're more likely to come back to them. Same thing with crews.
Igor.
Yeah.
You and me. That's you and me.
Yeah, that's you and I. That's all we have. We've been working, making movies together forever, and we know how to talk to each other about that. That's how John and I work when we write. I can tell him something, he knows exactly what I'm trying to do, and he's telling me if it's working or not.
Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah. These relationships are very these actor-director relationships that you see are very, very that are really strong, produce really amazing work.
Yep. I mean, Samuel Jackson feet are also, pretty decent, so Tarantino has an extra incentive to keep that bond going. You can get it, Tarantino.
I saw this video of this chick going up to Tarantino and asking, "Can you sign my foot?" And he was like, "Okay."
I mean, own it.
also, Tarantino's on Joe Rogan. I gotta watch that episode. It just came out.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Rogan. There's a lot of good stuff lately that's been coming out that's worth checking out, especially in the film world. He invites a lot of nice people these days.
But enough about another podcast. Let's get back to our podcast.
We're not allowed, Ali. We're not allowed to pretend like other podcasts exist because that's the rule number 1 of podcasting.
Exactly.
We're YouTubers. Thank you very much. We're not one of those. There's literally a microphone in my frame. I'm a hypocrite as fuck. All right.
What else is there to mention?
Thinking. Okay, yeah, I just
okay. I didn't want to talk about... Okay, there was, I think, 1 or 2 things that I didn't like.
Okay, what did you not like about this movie, Ali? I'm gonna go reach for my Glock pistol real quick, but tell me.
Shit.
What was wrong with that movie?
Wait, hold up. Can you edit, a gun in frame for this part?
No, I can't. No,
okay, never mind.
We're suffering from enough gun violence in this country.
Oh, Jesus.
Now continue.
Okay, so it might have been completely intentional, and if it is intentional, it's brilliant.
Okay.
But oh my fucking god, they had such terrible aim, all of them.
Oh my god, you're so right.
It was stormtrooper aim, bro. It was.
Yeah, especially.
It might have been worse actually, because I remember one part where fucking this person turned around with an automatic like an AK-47 or some shit, and to shoot Angel, and he was point blank, and he didn't fucking shoot Angel. I'm like, how is this possible?
Yep. No, it's so dumb.
It might have been completely intentional, just to show in action movies they all have such terrible aim, so let's up the ante and make it like visually like, how the fuck did you miss that, you retard?
Yeah.
But like, but God, it was so bad. It was such bad aim.
You know, honestly, like that shootout sequence, it was great in so many ways, especially like, you know, Angel's entrance to the town when he's riding on a horse and shit. But when he's like cornered by the people right before Danny's having his, you know,
he should have died 1,000,000 times over.
Yeah. Just because like when he gets cornered by that fountain, there's a person literally shooting at him from a window directly above him, and for some reason,
right? And it's like the shots go right next to his head, and I'm like,
he's just like,
what is happening?
There's like a repetition of shots of him just dodging bullets that hit it next to him, and I was like, I know that's how you do it, but like, the movie talked so much about, you know, realistic shootouts versus imaginary ones, and they just don't quite add up.
I mean, it could have been the joke where he's all like, oh, what about these like shootouts that are this and that, and then Danny says that, and then maybe like Angel's like, oh, well, it's not like that at all. Mm-hmm. But it's exactly like that. Mm-hmm. Like, that could have been the joke, right? I guess that could have been the joke.
That could have been the joke. I have, like, a final point about the tone of the movie, if you want to wrap it up.
Yeah.
We're already at minute 54, so...
Yes.
Cool. So, yeah, I have, like, a big final thought, which has to do with the character of Angel and the overall flow of the movie. You know, there's types of conflicts: man versus man, man versus environment, man versus whatever else, and
machine himself. All that stuff.
Yeah. And in this case, it's almost like a man against society, because Angel is a fish out of water. Even in London, he is kind of positioned as this person who is way too good for his job, and he's almost annoying because everyone wants him out in the nicest way possible, but still he's like totally out of place. And then he goes into this town where, you know, he's also out of place because he doesn't want to be there, which is like evident enough, but he's also surrounded by other police, like police officers that are telling him that he is wrong, and that, you know, he is not doing the right thing, and it's just all coincidence, and he's just from the city, so he doesn't get it. And it's just like this, the movie is just consistent with showing Angel pushing against that ongoing flow of opinions and people and events that tell him you're wrong, but his own sense of internal justice, his own sense of what is right, and his desire to protect and serve, you know, that doesn't always actually adhere to the conventional definition of the word in the way that the police department will define it as. He is actually protecting and serving with his heart and mind. And I think that's just like so interesting, because he's doing the right thing, but everything is against him, just like a proper movie plot should have it, you know? But it just dictates us, like, you know, even after he discovers the conspiracy, even when he finds out that, like, there's a fucking group of satanic worshippers that, you know, gather on in cloaks and murder people because their houses look bad. Even after...
The village.
Even after he discovers that the village is bad altogether, he still has to fight that, because there's a point where the movie goes like, yeah, why don't you just live with that world? Why don't you just settle for that? Because that is the normal, right? There's not one killer, there's dozens of them. And there's not like just a handful of killed people, there's like dozens of those as well. And even after that, he is still like, you know, there's always an option to confront, to not to confront, to settle, to just let it exist. Why would you as an individual, even though a police officer, you know, go and fight it? But he's so committed to that internal force that is driving him, he just wants to keep doing it. And it's so hard to do when what you're battling is literally the society. And in the end, you know, he comes out right. In the end, he was the one righteous, but it took so much power and so much dedication to do so, just because, you know, the idea of protecting and serving has to come from a place from within. It doesn't have much, in the end of the day, it doesn't have much to do with structure. It doesn't have much to do with whatever society is dictating. It doesn't have much to do with the collective prejudice of the system you work under. Protecting and serving is what you choose to do as an individual, and whether or not you want to abide to those rules is your own responsibility only. I did not mean to tie this into the American context, but holy fuck, you get what I mean.
Igor, you know what just happened?
What just happened?
You pulled a me. Don't you feel powerful now?
I think so. I think yeah, it feels good. It feels good. I'm not gonna lie.
It feels good to understand the underlying philosophy of certain films. Yes.
Yep.
You feel powerful now.
Yeah, it feels good. It's just, I mean, it's a satire, right? So like, you gotta make a
exactly.
satirical deduction out of it. So you know.
Yeah. No. Good shit, dude. I didn't even think about any of that. That's a good perspective, man.
Yeah, I just think of all the bullshit that went on over the course of the last 2 years and the decades prior to that. You know, it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, with that, folks, that's Hot Fuzz. So if you liked the video, like and subscribe. Check, comment what you think. What other Edgar Wright films should we watch? I'm down to watch Shaun of the Dead and all that kind of stuff as well.
I want to watch that movie drunk.
Yeah. Maybe we could even watch Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I'd love to see that film.
Yep.
And with
Again.
that, again. And with that, folks, peace out, everybody.
This was Last Minute Movies. See you all next week. Much love.